My name is Lupe Lawrence, and I am originally from Havana, Cuba. I came when I was 5 years old, and we stayed at my aunt's house. And one day I was sitting in her living room, and across from me was a painting by John Constable Hayway. And I remember looking at this painting and just thinking how beautiful it was, and I just fell in love with the painting. And it was just, it was as though you could walk into the scene, and I was so amazed on how it was possible, how anybody could do that. I remember sitting there just staring at the painting and just crying, and I knew at that instant that that's what I wanted to do with my life. I knew that I wanted to do the same thing that John Constable had done. My cousin, who was going to art school, was just, oh my goodness, she was just so, left such an impression on me, and I wanted to go with her. I told my mother that I wanted to take art classes, and she said, no, you don't have the money for right now, and yeah, no. And so it wasn't until years later, when I was into high school, that I took my first art class. I felt as though I had come home, and this was what I was supposed to be doing with my life. I went to my art teacher, and I told my art teacher that I wanted to go to college and I wanted to become an artist. And she said, you don't have the talent, you'll never make it as an artist, go sit down somewhere, pick another profession. And I did. I became an accountant, and you can imagine, just to change the left, the right brain, it was like it wasn't working. Well, it was several years later. I was working at the city of West Palm, and I became very depressed. It was a situation, and I'll be honest, I tried to commit suicide. And so when I woke up, I realized how selfish I had been, and what my husband and my family would think, and and yeah, this wasn't right. And I think that with every one of us, it was with the entertainer that just committed suicide, it's just so prevalent, and with so many people. But I was so fortunate that I remembered my childhood dream, and I took my first art class. I walked into a Poston one day, and a Poston is kind of like a Michael's, and they were having art classes, and I signed up for it. Well, I was the only black student in the art class, and it was wonderful the first day. Again, I had come home. It was just, oh my goodness, I went home and I was on a high. It was just wonderful. Well, the second and third class, I began to realize something. I began to see that the teacher would pay attention to everyone but me. Like I said, I was the only black student in the class, and she just totally ignored me. And I decided, who needs this? I mean, those classes weren't cheap. And I decided, who needs this? So I found another, like a Joanne Fabrics, and I started taking classes there. And the same thing happened. I was the only black student there, and the teacher paid attention to everybody else but me. And there were other students in the class. Well, that day I decided that that was going to be my last class, and I was going to forget about being an artist, and it was just maybe a pipe dream, and whatever. As I was in the parking lot, there was a lady named Jeannie that came, and she tapped me on the shoulder, and she said, I saw what was happening, and I don't like it. let me tell you about a man who is giving art classes, and he's fabulous. She gave me the number, and you know, I'm an artist, right? And so it's like I lose everything. But that number, oh my gosh, I wrote it and I posted it every place that I can remember so I wouldn't lose the number, right? So finally that Monday, this happened on a Friday night, so I had to wait to that Monday to call him, call the office. Well, he answered the phone and said, of course I could take classes with him. The most wonderful thing about this, I was paying like, I don't know, $40, whatever, for the art class. Now, this was back in the early 90s, and $40 was a lot of money. Well, $40 is a lot of money now, but he was only charging $5 for the class. Okay, so I take the class, and he is dreamy. He is the best teacher. So anyway, I started with there must have been like maybe 10 people in the class, and one by one they started dropping off. And I said, surely these art classes are going to end. And he just kept going, and he started giving me one-on-one classes. And he said, if you can have it, if you want it, you can have it. And what I would do is I was still working at the city of West Palm, and I would come home from work, and I would make dinner, do my chores and whatnot, and I would start painting. And so I would get home around 4:30 and finish my chores around about 5:30 or so, and I would paint from 5:30 till about 1 o'clock at night. And so this went on for about a year, maybe 2 years, and now I would paint non-stop. I mean, 7 days a week. And one day Robert decided that he was going to give a contest on all of his students. Well, unbeknownst to me, the teacher that I was taking art classes with, she was taking classes from Robert also, but at a different time. I was going at night, she was going in the morning. So she was in the competition also. And so what was so exciting is that we competed and I won. I beat her. And so that was the start. And so from there, Robert moved on, and I think he moved to California. And one day, I was sitting in my family room, and I was watching a PBS special. And on the PBS special, there was avant-garde art, and it was the art that was so disgusting. So, I mean, it was this guy, he was using blood to create artwork with, and it was just feces and different things that artists were doing. And I remember John Constable and how he made me feel, and the beauty of art, the beauty of Rembrandt and Monet and all of the others. And I started crying. And I'm a believer, I'm a Christian. And so I sat in front of the television and I said, God, if you can use anyone, use me. Well, the next day I had a little Cocker Spaniel, and I took him for a walk. And unbeknownst to me, there was a festival at the park near my house. So I was taking my dog to a festival, and in the sidewalk there was this gentleman, and he was selling art. And I approached him and I asked him if he was interested in seeing my art. And he said, sure, my gallery is right across the street. Just bring me some of your paintings and let me take a look at them. Well, I brought my paintings. I think I might have brought like 10 paintings, and he accepted them all. So you couldn't imagine my excitement, right? It was knowing that I had seen this special on television, and then the next day it was like meet the sky. So anyway, the next weekend he had another show, and he called me. He told me that he had sold 2 of my paintings. Well, can you imagine my excitement? So I was just over the moon. Well, he said he would send me a check, and within a couple of days, and the check never came. And so I was like calling him night and day, where's my money? Where's my money? Not only that, but the gallery was real close to my house. So I would drive by the gallery every chance I got, and no one was ever there. So finally, one day I was watching TV again, and I heard this voice say to me, get up and go to Home Depot. I'm like, I don't want to go to Home Depot. What do I need to go to Home Depot for? The voice wouldn't leave me alone. Get up and go to Home Depot. And finally said, all right, I'll go to Home Depot. Well, as I'm passing his gallery, I see him in his van, and he is taking all the art from his gallery and putting it in his car. And I parked my car, went into the gallery, and got up all my paintings. And he says, oh, I was gonna call you. I'm like, whatever, that's okay. So I went ahead and I said, well, it was nice, sold 2 paintings. Never got the money for it, but at least I sold 2 paintings. And a phone call, and it's from this woman, and she said to me that she had been looking for me for about 2 months or so, and she had called Human Resources with the city of West Palm asking for Lupe Lawrence. Well, they didn't know who Lupe Lawrence was because my name is Guadalupe, and so she finally reached someone that knew me personally, and she says, oh, you mean Lupe Lawrence? And she put her directly to me, and we started talking, and she said that she wanted me to do a show, and it was in Delray. And so I did the show, and I sold 2 or 3 paintings there, and that was the start of my art career. I've been doing shows ever since. So that's how I started as an artist. It goes to show how, when you're destined to be something, it's like the universe will put all the right things and all the right people in front of you.
You were listening. I believe a lot of times we are tuned out, for lack of better words, and sometimes if you're not tuned in
to the universe,
because I do believe the signs are always there.
Exactly. It's just whether we want to acknowledge them.
I believe every day is a training day.
Oh, that's wonderful. I love that.
Every day is a training day.
Yeah, for your destiny, right? For your destiny, for you
yes,
to move forward.
And every day is practice. It's very similar to sports or anything else. You practice. So the more you practice, you train. So when the time comes, you'll be ready. It'll be a shame when the time comes
and you're not ready.
You're not ready. So in theory, then it's you that wasn't ready, but the thing was right there
in front of you. That's basically my story.
So now,
it was perspective. When I found out how John Constable was able to make you feel like you were walking into the painting, and there was a name for it, right? That was my favorite part. I think it was not only that, but how colors can recede And so that was part of what he used. And so, so that was my favorite part, and perspective is also the most challenging, right? It's so basic, and once you get it, but it's so hard to learn.
Well, perspective makes you feel different ways. Each time the perspective changes, the whole aspect changes.
Of the mood.
In the mood.
Yeah.
And then how you see it, how you feel.
Yeah.
In addition, sometimes it'll evoke some previous feelings.
Yeah.
That might have been dormant.
Yeah. Exactly. That's very good. Very, very good.
Very good.
One of the reasons that a lot of people don't use oils is because of the toxicity and the fumes. And so one of my newest thing is how to make your studio space less toxic and less, safer. And I've been doing some research, and I found that walnut oil acts it's just wonderful, and how you can use it instead of turpentine,
which is another
which is toxic, and the other thing is, so how do you clean your brushes without using turpentine? And there is, soap and water, you can clean your brushes. And so all oils is pigment with either linseed oil or walnut oil.
Yes.
And so if you think about it, is watercolor pigment with gum oil. So oils in itself is not toxic.
Yes.
So it's just, how do you take that out? How do you take the toxins out? So that's one of the things that I've been experimenting with lately. Yeah. And so as a matter of fact, I'm going to be doing a workshop and teaching how to use oils without using turpentine. I think I enjoy painting landscapes the most. The reason that I think that I enjoy landscape is because we are living in a world that the beauty of nature is disappearing. And we are losing our environment and what the beauty that I had when I was a child, most of the younger generation is going to miss out on. One of the things that I was thinking about is I love Thomas Cole in the Hudson River School. I love their art, and one of the things that they did was they wanted to show the world the beauty of the United States, the beauty of nature.
Yes.
And so that's why I think that I love landscapes so much, because of the fact that we're losing so much of our environment through our carelessness. Yeah. I love traveling. And so my husband and I go, and he calls me the butterfly, fluttering butterfly, because I cannot stand still long enough to do a painting and do a plein air. I'm not built that way. So when I am out traveling, I am taking, oh my goodness, we just went to Quebec. We went on a cruise from Quebec to Fort Lauderdale. And I bet I took at least 1,500, 2,000 photos. And so I just thank God for digital, right? Because it was extremely expensive before, right? And so that's my, I just love doing that. Just taking photos and going back to my studio. Not all the time do I paint them exactly. Exactly what I see. I take artistic license to some of them, but some paintings are just perfect. And so, so I paint it by Beta, exactly what I see. Well, I think that I've taken a large leap when I went to a limited palette. And I think that was the evolution. That's where it started, because before I was only, I would use the tube and whatever. And so I think that's what started it. And I think I'm still evolving. And so I'm not sure yet, because I'm still evolving in that area.
Well, that's the beauty of, I feel a very similar way to what you're saying, because I know for a time for me, the stuff that I was painting, I still liked them, but I felt I could push the boundaries further. Mm-hmm. And for me, not the looser the shapes, but more open-ended the shapes became. Mm-hmm. And I found I had more control over, even though if you look at it, it would be the opposite, because the shapes are more fluid. Yeah. But within the fluidity, I found that other perspective or the control I needed to move forward.
Right, and I think that one of the other things that I am doing is I'm using more impasto. And so I like the sculpting of the paint. And so I feel now that, this painting is just at the beginning stage, but towards the end it would be more, I would use more impasto. So I guess it's that evolution where my paint was thinner and now it's becoming much thicker. A lot of the roosters are with impasto. As a matter of fact, all